Hey, it's the beer video. Two things. One, Helen and I did not plan this. We have
Um,
no idea what shirts we are going to wear, but I'm going to say this, and Helen, I have not discussed this with you yet, but you tell me what you think of this. Obviously, it's a shitty week. Obvious.
yeah,
So here's what I want to do. I kind of want to give people something that they can watch right now that isn't like full of anger and bullshit and everything, because I think we've had enough of that right now.
I
But
actually have just the thing. So,
well, here's what I
uh,
was going to say. Here's what I was going to say. Tell me if you're okay with this. Let's not talk anything about news until we're done with our beers.
that sounds perfect.
'Cause
Love
that
that.
way, it'll give people, if people don't want to hear that, if they don't want, if they've had enough news, if they've had enough of everything, they can just, that's it. They can just turn the video off and then that's it.
Sounds good to me. So, in terms of stuff you can watch, that's not, not rubbing your face in current events,
Mhm.
I will say one thing because it sort of kind of relates to the news, is that one comfort I have taken in watching this unfold is the knowledge that authoritarian governments tend to be full of very self-interested backbiters.
Yeah,
Minute the leader um, exits from that situation, whether by dying or retiring or whatever,
I got so horny just a second ago. So
well, they tend to just rip each other apart like a pack of feral dogs. And I think a movie that really shows this happening is The Death of Stalin, which is a wonderful comedy about the death of Stalin. One thing that's really funny about it is it has a bunch of American and British actors just doing their native accents.
I
For
love
example, Emmy plays Nikita Khrushchev and just sounds like like Donnie from The Big Lebowski. And Jason Isaacs, who played what was it, the shitty wizard aristocrat in the Harry Potter movies, I guess. And also he does the voice of Gortash in Baldur's Gate 3. He does my favorite General Zukov, which also he has it's a tough case, but I think my favorite line in the entire movie might be one of his, which is where someone greets him when he's kind of stressed out and he just screams "fuck off" or "I'll punch you into a sticky pulp," kind of that line. So yeah, that's my recommendation. Watch Death of Stalin. It's really good. In addition to those two I just mentioned, got I don't know, it's just lousy with character actors that you've seen a million times in other things.
it. Yeah. One thing I'll say that you should try to do, if you can, if they're in your town, and again, Helen and I did not plan this, go see Iron Maiden. They were just in town Friday. I've seen Iron Maiden, God, I don't know how many times I've seen them. Many, many, many. Um, this was a really different show. From a lot, probably the most different Maiden show I've seen, maybe ever. So they were touring on, well, they're touring on their latest record, I can't remember how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
They did play 5 songs off of that. Okay. But the other album that they're featuring is the 1986 album Somewhere in Time. So it's sort of a mix of those two things. I love Somewhere in Time. That was the album I came in on. So it's kind of got a soft this room that I'm in right now, which is my office. So my grandmother originally owned this house. I bought the house off my grandmother whenever her health was getting, a little sketchy and she had to kind of go into assisted living. I bought the house off of her. In this room right now, in 1986, I listened to Somewhere in Time for the first time. My grandmother took me up to, there used to be a Kmart like right up the hill. So I went up there and bought the cassette, which I still own, by the way. Um, and yeah, just sat in this room and listened to Somewhere in Time, and that's sort of where my whole thing with Iron Maiden started. Um, but it was really just a really interesting mix. Like if you had never seen Maiden before and you were going to see all the hits, you probably were disappointed. But as somebody who's seen all the hits a million times, it was cool to see Alexander the Great and them just doing somewhere, caught somewhere in time. Heaven Can Wait, like doing stuff like that. So it was cool just kind of getting some different songs than you normally get from Iron Maiden. Um, yeah. And they were great. They're in I think Nico, the drummer, Nico McBrain, I think he's the oldest member. He is 72 years old and he's recovering from a stroke. But the rest of the band's like mid to late 60s and they have more energy than I'll ever have. So yeah, if you get a chance to go see
Yeah.
Maiden at any point, and they sold the fucking place out too. That place was packed. Um, yeah, good night. Jaden ended up going with me. Jaden had never seen Iron Maiden before, so that was a big I kept like preparing them in the car saying like this is a band and it's a stage show. Like it's both. You're gonna get a lot of visuals and um yeah, so yeah, it was a good one of those reminders that like not everything has to feel awful all the time. Like there's still things out there that you can feel good about and that can give you some good vibes. And seeing Iron Maiden did that for me. And both Helen and I are wearing Iron Maiden shirt. Do you want to just do our shirts now?
This was just an impulsive decision, honestly. I was wearing a bolt thrower shirt earlier today, but I
I
don't know.
almost I
Um,
almost wore a bolt thrower shirt for this, and then I put this on.
I I was I don't know. I tried to make you kind of not shamed me quite, but you've kind of prodded me a little bit to put in a bit more effort with my makeup sometimes because I know you're kind of trying that out. So I'm like, I should probably do something with that, and I felt like it coordinated little better. And Matt said it looked really slutty and encouraged me to quote make that paper. So I guess I don't know.
Send
I
Helen some money.
Yeah, I guess so if you want.
Yeah. No one's paying to see me, but that's okay. I nobody ever has and nobody ever will. But I also am wearing an Iron Maiden shirt. It's not the cover of Brave New World, but it's inspired by it. And Brave New World was Bruce Dickinson's comeback album with Iron Maiden that came out in either 99.
Yeah, less said about his replacement, the better, I think.
Yeah.
Wait, was that Blaze Bailey did the interim singing, right? Am
Mhm.
I that
Yep.
right?
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
on Virtual 11 and oh God, the other one.
Yeah, and I've heard some of his solo stuff, and I feel perfectly neutral about it, but he
Yeah.
was a terrible fit for that band. Oh,
Oh,
speaking of former singers, R.I.P. Paul Diano, I think that was a couple of
yeah.
weeks. Sad thing is I had kind of assumed he was already dead because like his various health issues were pretty long standing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You
one of the
know, one of the reasons I knew he wasn't dead is he and Bruce Dickinson had just gotten together like a month ago. Um, so they had taken a picture together, like that they met up and all that. So I knew he was still alive based on that. But yeah.
yeah. Yeah, he wasn't doing too well, I guess. I mean, and yeah, so I'm wearing a killer shirt. I also have a jujitsu rash guard with this cover art on it, which honestly I picked mostly because my head coach has the Number of the Beast one, and I didn't want to seem like a kiss ass, even though I think Number of the Beast is it. I prefer that as an album.
Mhm.
Yeah, even though I like Dickinson better as a singer, I think the Deano stuff is still really solid.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah, all
Yeah.
right, went last week. I don't remember.
You went first last week because I actually put up the sign, so I'll take the sign down. I have a mountain of sticky. I look insane. I have a mountain of sticky notes over here from work, from different things that I was just taking notes on for to put documents together. I need to clean this up. It looks insane. I had them all over my monitor because this monitor, my work, I need a new work laptop because my one, like where I plug in the monitor, it doesn't work anymore. So I just had sticky notes all over this. Insane. Anyway, so I am drinking one from Rusty Rail Brewing. We've had them before on the beer video. This is called Cheat Day. So it is a lemon bar sour, and as you can see there, some lemon bars. And I love a lemon bar. Maybe a little too much. But this
I
is
like that. Shout out to the gym bros in the audience.
that's right. 5% alcohol. The IBUs are 15. So yeah, it's just an ale with lemon, natural flavors, and lactose. And I'm drinking out of a steel curtain glass because the probably other than Iron Maiden, the only good thing that happened this week was the Steelers winning today, in kind of hilarious fashion. So and your Vikings won. So we're
Oh, they did. Oh, that's why everyone was happy.
yeah. Yeah. All right.
I like to sit and read at a Vikings bar. So I kind of learn, I guess, by osmosis when they win or lose based on the vibe, the mood when I walk in there.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny. I'm probably the scent is probably not doing it for me because I just put on like a THC hand cream and it smells really spicy. So I'm having a hard time smelling the beer because it's this lotion is eclipsing it. Yeah.
THC hand cream. How does that work? Does it work? I guess we're about to find out.
Yeah, it works. Yeah, this is good. The thing I was worried about going into this one was um, something like a lemon bar sour. I know it's a sour, but I was worried about the lemon just being turned up to like 500. And it's really not. The lemon's almost subtle. Um, there is a slight bitterness. I'm sure that some of it has to do with the presence of lemon. Um, but it's very, very mild. So like if you're not into bitter beers, don't worry about it. You'll barely notice it. Um, It's just a really tasty beer. I really think this, I've said this before about other beers, but I feel like this would be a good warmer weather beer, which I guess
Oh,
it's
yeah, for
still
sure.
warm. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Oh boy, fucking sitting on my hands trying to avoid saying doomer stuff about climate change.
um, yeah, I guess I expected a little bit of sweetness, just because I'm looking at the powdered sugar on on the lemon bar. So I was kind of ex
Black pepper wine usually makes things really like kind of deal breakingly sweet for me. Like I've come to realize that the one lactose IPA I like is kind
Yeah, no, this is really nice. It's very nice, pleasant beer. Uh, you know, I know lemon isn't everybody's thing, especially, the sour factor. But it being a sour and it being, lemon being the main ingredient, it's not overly sour. It's just hard enough. I think this is a good if you are somebody, this used to be me a long time ago, that you haven't really gotten into the sour market yet and you're trying to kind of find like a gateway in. This wouldn't be a bad one. Because you get enough of the sour to kind of get an understanding of what it's like, but you're not going to be puckering and your eyes aren't going to be watering and all that. So, yeah, I really like this. Nice work, Rusty Rail. Now I want a real lemon bar.
it's a tasty treat.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Mine is from Wandering Leaf Brewing Company, and I thought I'd featured them before, but I think I was thinking of Little Thistle. So confusing my plant themed names.
Yeah.
Called Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Got
Yes.
some spooky guys on there, got some skulls and
Hmm.
black pumpkins and a spider. And it is a beet saison.
Oh,
So
interesting.
that's
I was kind
interesting.
of wondering where that was going to go.
Oh boy, this color's incredible. Um, yeah, so I have previously featured the beet sour from uh Wooden Ship, but I thought that one tasted mostly just like lemon. So it was pretty good, but I didn't really get much beet. I got the Cousin Eddie glass because I feel like, kind of today, like this week in the country,
Oh.
truly is full. So yeah, that just looks like beet juice.
Okay, whenever we're done here and we talk about bullshit, remind me to tell you my uncle or my cousin Eddie comparison because I made it this week and I think it stands up because we got to laugh about something.
Yeah.
I
Especially,
love the head.
yeah, it's really remarkable. It smells like a regular saison to me, so we'll see how this goes. Hmm. Okay, I can definitely taste the beet. This doesn't seem like the most natural combination in the world, but the beets are not over they don't give an overwhelming flavor to the beer.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to think that maybe beet juice is just kind of hard to like put in enough quantities that becomes kind of a forefront flavor. But um I can kind of taste it in this nice mellow earthiness it gives, which plays really well with the kind of the saison spices. Um you know how saisons usually taste kind of like mildly like baking spicy,
Yeah.
even if they don't really have that in them. Uh, and God, this color is just incredible. I love it
I
so
love it.
much.
Yeah.
I'm kind of didn't buy a 4 pack of this now because this is really good. I love saison so much. I think it's a really neglected style, and I wish breweries did more of them instead of just like figuring out the like 90th version of an IPA they can do, or just like a sour that tastes like a candy bar,
Yeah.
which I think both those things have their place, but I feel like they're a bit oversaturated.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. There were ones today where I saw cans and by the way, the only reason I even bought one today, I already had one. I forgot to put it in the refrigerator. So I was out earlier this evening and I was like, "Oh, I should probably get something that's cold because it's gonna take a while to chill this beer." So I have one for next week already. But yeah. Um Fruits, man, and vegetables.
Hmm.
They're good for you.
Yep,
Even when they're in beers, they're good for you. Um,
that's what I keep telling myself.
yeah. All right. Well, this is the part of the video that's going to get bad. So,
Yeah.
well, not
We're
bad.
about to zone everyone.
Yeah. So this would be your time to for us to say we love you and we'll see you next week and that we appreciate you stopping by and go have a wonderful beer or two or three, or three.
Well, that's out of the way. So, I'd like to apologize, Brian. I was going to mail you a Hammerheart beer, but I woke up, saw the election results, and it was 7 a.m. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Um,
Understood.
that's just kind of where I was at.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I
yeah,
I stayed up because
yep.
I took Wednesday. I took the day after off.
I did too, because I was like, even if even in a best case scenario, I probably will have gotten no sleep and been like really stressed all night. So like I don't really have time for that. Um
Yeah.
so yeah, I had allowed myself a little bit of hope because I think maybe living here where people like Walt is a relatively popular governor,
Yeah.
um had allowed me to gas myself up a little bit that the result was going to be different. Um, and it became evident very early on that it was not. And the thing that gets me is like the 2016 thing. Yeah, that sucked. But like, there are a bunch of like really dumb fuck ups that the Hillary Clinton campaign did, like not Michigan at all.
Yeah.
Um, and just kind of assuming the whole thing was going to be handed to her. And like, that was kind of a fucking weird fucking fluke based on the electoral college.
Yeah.
Like, but this time, no, like he straight up won the popular vote
Yeah.
and
Yep.
it wasn't a blowout like some people are claiming, but it was close, but it was decisive. So,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
and
By the way, I just want to point this out too. It's okay to say that. It's okay to say that your candidate lost. It's okay to lose because in 2020, those fuckers are still bitching about the 2020 election,
they're
saying, "Oh,
relitigating. I think they just like feeling hurt. And, I think. the fact that they're all whining about how we need to come together now. Like, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the fuck your feelings crowd, but like I don't give
Yeah.
a fuck. And like
Yeah. You
you may
did this. You don't get to go and slap people in the face for 8 straight years and then want to be like, oh, well, let's just be friends. No, fuck you. We're not going to be friends.
yeah.
We're not.
Like I mean, well, I'm not gonna like pick a fight with every fucking MAGA dude, like or lady or whatever. It's like I work with some of them, I do sports with some of them.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, you know, just because I'm not going to be actively hostile towards you, because that's not going to accomplish anything. It's
No.
like we're
That's what they
buddies.
want. They're begging.
Um, yeah, it's
Not
I
all.
don't know.
I know it's not all of them, but I mean,
So there's two things that kind of are warring within me right now, and I think I maybe speak for at least a few people. One is that like I want to believe that people have reasons, however irrational, for thinking the way they do.
yeah,
And like, I think there's something to be said for maybe like talking to people and figuring out why they think the way they do. I don't know. Like my head jujitsu coach, I don't think he's a straight up Republican or whatever. Like I don't know for sure. We don't really talk politics a lot, but I don't know, kind of a libertarian-ish guy.
mm,
But like, we've talked about, for example, like universal health care and like, he's on board with it. So
yeah.
I think, I want to believe that at least some people are like reasonably persuadable. Um, but on the other hand, it's like I feel like this campaign for Trump was very unambiguous about what he was. And I feel like if you watched all that,
Yeah.
and no, I'm on board with it. And it wasn't just like one or two distasteful things or remarks, it's his whole platform, his whole demeanor, the whole way he conducted himself.
Right.
I've seen people comparing it to like, oh, well, if you could ignore Kamala's like shitty stance on Gaza, like how Trump voters could ignore like all that. It's like, well, it wasn't just one thing. It
Yeah.
wasn't just, it was all of it. So,
Yeah.
and I think the Gaza thing too is really frustrating because like on the one hand, like I think a do nothing stance, achieve nothing. It was it was not good. It's very stupid strategy. Like now, um, it did nothing. It's gonna get worse there now. So, but on the other hand, like I feel like a fucking asshole scolding people who cared about that to vote for Harris. Like I'm not gonna do that because like
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Harris Harris's campaign stance on that was very dumb.
Yeah.
Uh and it was baffling to me because it was like, so you're ignoring like kind of a significant part of your base, and a lot of them ended up voting for fucking Jill Stein of all people,
By the
just
way,
because.
if you voted for Jill Stein, fuck you. Like,
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's like I technically agree with Jill Stein on a lot of stuff based on what she says, but yeah, she's a fucking grifter. And like I have heard that even from people that have met her
yeah.
who like were not Harris voters, who mostly just sat out the vote because they found like Harris's Gaza stance too disgusting. Um, but yeah, like it's like, okay, well, you could choose to break with the very unpopular stance Joe Biden's taken. You could like, and that would increase your appeal to a large amount of your base. But instead, you're chasing, like, you're making these mushmouth statements while, like, everyone can, like, see on their phones, like, fucking toddlers getting blown up. And the guy leading that fucking genocide, that's what it is. I'm not gonna, like,
Yeah.
entertain well actually is about that.
No, agree.
The guy leading that is openly rooting for your opponent. Like, this is not someone who's ever going to get on board with you in a million years.
No.
And none of his shitty sycophants and none of his supporters. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
And
I
there was news the day after the election where Netanyahu was like, "Oh, he's more willing to talk about a ceasefire now." So it's like, yeah, it was the plan the whole time. It's the plan the whole time. And that's the thing where it's like I'm a little different. I mean, I agree with you on Palestine. Obviously, I completely yes, I agree. But the problem that I have with that, and I'm not saying this about like Muslim voters, yeah, or or Arab voters. I don't mean them. I get that. I can't I can't understand their life because I've never been through it. So I understand that part of it. What I don't understand is regular everyday, like just it sounds so bad. I'm sorry. The way I was getting ready to say that sounds bad. Non-Arab, non-Muslim voters, the rest. Do you do you understand that you've also fucked a lot of your neighbors with your vote? LGBTQ people, women, blacks,
I
uh,
mean, I think
minor or
there's been a lot of how the Hispanic vote broke for Trump. I
yeah,
think that's okay. He just increased his percentage by an absurd amount, considering what he regularly says.
yeah,
Uh, um,
yeah. I
like,
just don't get it. Where it's like,
well, I saw a few pieces where they interviewed either recent immigrants or actual undocumented people, and it was like, oh, he's just going to go after people that do crimes. It's like, you know, respectfully, man, like he's talked about mass deportation. That is not that do crimes. Like, and he's talking about deporting like the dreamers who like if you're eligible for that program, you become ineligible if you commit any crime at all, as far as I know. And talking about deporting grandmas. It's like you are not you're not gonna be like there's no one of the good ones test. And they've talked about denaturalizing naturalized US citizens,
right. Yeah.
which like, you know, I practice jujitsu with a lot of guys who are like first generation immigrants and like um not gonna be fucking rude and ask them how they voted, I guess, but like I do wonder like what's gonna happen to him, honestly. Like some of them have houses, some of them don't. They're all like dudes with like decent fucking middle class jobs who like haven't done anything wrong, but like
Yeah.
how much is that gonna matter?
I think the other thing that bugs me too, just about the Harris thing, and again, I look, the Democrats need to take this as a come to Jesus moment.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
There cannot be a louder statement for you to react to than this one. I'm
And the
tired
thing
of Chuck Schumer,
with
tired of
my
Nancy
mind was
Pelosi.
the decision to campaign with Liz Cheney and like
Yeah,
one, the never Trump Republicans you're chasing, there's what, like 10 of those?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. And
even the people
they
probably some pretty serious misgivings about him. They're gonna line and vote for his ass because that's what they do.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's it's never been a significant voting base, and you're a fool to chase it.
yeah.
And the Cheneys are some of the most hated people in American politics. Like the MAGA crowd hates Liz Cheney for like
Mhm.
standing up against Trump,
Yep,
and you know, I hate the Cheneys because I'm 40 and I remember the fucking Iraq War.
yep.
So
One. Yeah.
like this you may as well have fucking campaigned with, I don't know, Lex Luthor.
I think it was Robert Evans who said this, where he said, I think she would have had a better chance of winning if she would have called for Dick Cheney's execution.
No shit. Yeah, like, like I don't want I don't want I don't want you to fucking out his fucking endorsement. Say you'll send him to the fucking Hague.
Yeah.
Like,
But to kind, to kind of defend Harris here, she also had to basically ace the test. She couldn't make any mistakes. She had to fucking ace the test. And this other guy is a fucking monkey eating his own shit and smearing his own feces on the test
the
paper.
thing that like fucking blew my mind was like, yes, I feel like the concerns about Joe Biden's visible decline were entirely reasonable. I watched that fucking
100%.
5 minutes until I tapped out.
Yeah.
Uh,
But the appetite
but
wasn't there in the
like,
beginning.
if you like, he's not really doing a whole lot better. His fucking brains are obviously just leaking out his ears. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like maybe best case, like, like some people. maybe had like either they just have not seen like how visibly the guy's been declining, or like they cast the vote understanding it was going to be for basically a shadow cabinet, like when Reagan's brain was full of holes, like from fucking Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Which
Oh,
I,
I just too, oh, sorry, go ahead.
it's just I don't know, man. This whole thing felt like 2004, right? Like, you know, Kerry wasn't a great candidate, but
Right. At
you
all.
know, we just had scandal after scandal, this fucking boondoggle in Iraq,
Yeah.
and like massively unpopular war, and like, and yeah, same margin, I think, even or close to it.
Yeah.
Like people talking about like a fucking mandate there, and it's just like, yeah, and shit just got worse.
Yeah. The other thing that
This
bugged me,
time, this time, I don't know. Like, God, I remember like fucking in 2008, like when it got called at like 8 p.m. for Obama.
yeah,
Like my friends and I were partying in the streets. I fucking made out with a friend of mine who like, I don't think we even really had any sexual or romantic interest in each other.
you don't need
Not
it. Not in times like
himself,
that.
not very attractive, but like, uh, and like, because there was just so much fucking like, and we weren't even that fucking jazzed about Obama because we were like,
Sure.
no, he's a Democrat, right? Like, well, that's fine, I guess. Um, whatever. But we were just so fucking happy to be rid of that guy.
Yeah.
And I feel like the American people have the memories of goldfish. And this time, I'm not even sure
Oh,
there's gonna be another presidential election.
I mean, look, we are in a TikTok generation. I mean, January 6th was 4 years ago. That might as well have been BC. Nobody fucking remembers that. And the other thing that bugs me too, that I see this just from like I've stayed away from social media a lot this week, but just seeing people from other countries being like, "What the fuck did you guys just do?" And it's like you say to them, like, "No, no, no, I know that," but the middle class voters were worried about not being connected or worried about egg price. And I just imagine somebody in England going like, "Oh, don't worry, no, it's okay. The middle class was upset, and the eggs are too expensive, so
England has
they got
fucking room.
that's why they got the dictator." Like you gotta be fucking.
England has no fucking room to talk. I'm
No, they
sorry.
don't. They don't. It was a bad example, but I just mean.
Yeah.
I, I don't mean politicians here. I mean the human beings that populate those countries. Because I don't
Yeah. Oh, I feel like a lot of a lot of the world has been falling for reactionary shit.
know.
Someone pointed out that this was part of a huge backlash against incumbents in general,
Yeah,
uh, which has not just affected right-wing parties or left-wing parties, sorry, but Modi in India is really, really unpopular now, and the Tories got booted out in England, even though Keir Starmer is just a fucking like empty suit of a guy,
yeah,
just
yeah,
for shit, right? Like, you know, for for better or for worse, people blame like post-pandemic inflation on like the guy in charge.
yeah,
Even, even if there was like maybe not a whole lot that could realistically be done about that, I think people like really clowned on Kamala, I think rightfully, for like talking about the social programs she wanted to do being like super, super means tested. And it's like, well, yeah, like you can't offer these social programs and then have them be so stupid and half-assed like that. My view is like, oh, the arguments are like, oh, well, that shit would get her called a communist. Okay, well, Obama was called a communist his whole 8 years in office, despite like being a fucking mushy centrist the whole
yeah,
fucking time.
yeah,
And you know, and like, oh, well, that won't pass the Senate. It's like, do you think they'll let any social program pass the Senate? Like, no. So you may go through the fences, and like that way, when like Republicans obstruct you, you get to like point to them and be like, hey, so this is why your granny can't get medication.
yeah. Well,
So
that's still coming. It's just,
uh, yeah, it is funny that the three biggest Trumpers I know are like public school teacher, Mexican immigrant, woman reliant on disability. So it's like you all are going to be very specifically fucked in different ways. So
yeah. And I'm not, when I wave, I'm not like, I don't want to see that happen to anybody. Like, I really don't. I don't want to see that happen to anybody. Like, I
Like,
hope
I
that,
don't feel good at this, but like it astounds me that like, they either just didn't really look into what this would mean for them or they assumed it wouldn't apply to them.
yeah. All right, look, we only got a couple minutes here because I don't pay for a real version of this software, but I'm gonna say one more thing that I know that Helen is gonna be on board with. If you ever say to a woman, your body, my choice, I can promise you the two members of the It's the Beer video community, one of whom is a trained fighter, will fuck you up. Don't talk to people like that. Do not. I'm
He
not
lives in
afraid of her.
Illinois, so that's pretty close. I would love okay, that's an actionable threat. Sorry.
This is an actionable threat.
Uh, Imagine me saying an actionable threat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
use your imagination.
Yes. Yes. Don't act that way. It's you're lonely boys terminally on the internet, and you're always going to be if you continue to act that way. Don't treat women like that. Treat them like a human being.
When even Andrew Tate is telling you that's a gross thing to say,
My God.
like
Yeah.
you are fucking weeds, my man.
Yeah. And fuck Andrew Tate. All
Obviously.
right. It's been the beer video. Look, we're gonna be here. We are gonna fucking stick it through this goddamn thing. We're gonna make it.
I mean, I am looking at emigration, but hey, we can negotiate time zones if it comes to that.
Right. Look, take care of your neighbors. Take care of the LGBTQ community. Take care of anybody in your community who is an immigrant. Take care of anybody close to you because, even if like the shit doesn't hit the fan for all of us, mental health is still a thing that is going to be paramount. And, just being there and being a supporter for these people, I think will go a long way. And we won't run let's run a fucking like progressive in 2028. Can we do that? Can we get like a progressive candidate who's gonna, you know,
They'll never run Ilhan, but a girl can dream.
a girl can dream. All right, it's been the beer video. Up the irons.